23. Okay.
Ready. And action. Welcome back to Tuesday Talks with Red, episode 23. It is crazy to me to think we're getting close to halfway. That's nuts. That's crazy. All right, so today's episode I called Nuclear Reactions, and it is all about my anger issues. Yeah, let's dive into that. So last week I talked about how I started attending Celebrate Recovery, and how a lot of times they pull out, right before small group, they'll pull out and talk about certain issues that Celebrate Recovery tries to help cover. And one of the ladies in our group, she always, because we start every session with, for me, hi, my name is Billy. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus who struggles with blah. Say all the things we struggle. At this point I struggle with codependency and control. And there was always one lady who I would have never believed, but she always said, my name is so-and-so and I struggle with blah, blah, and anger. And I was like, how does this person struggle with anger? And so they asked for it to be read in group one night, for the anger issue to be read. And so our leader pulled out the anger page and read through, these are signs that you may be needing to deal with anger issues. And I start reading it and I was like, okay. So when it got around to me, I quickly changed to I struggle with codependency control, and now I'm realizing I need to deal with my anger management issues or anger issues. And I was like, oh my word, because here's the thing, like looking back at my past, like in my lineage, we've got some anger. So like in my line of my dad, my poppy, like being around them trying to work on something and not having the right tool, back away, like don't even deal with them. And my poppy's in his 90s now, and bless it, it's almost comical because like I said, he's in his 90s when he gets riled up. I've watched it my whole life. There was a lot in my marriage that I talked about in my divorce episode, where there's a lot of rage, a lot of anger. And so I thought there is no, like me, I just get frustrated. I'm just frustrated. Wrong. Wrong. And I think when we got divorced, and it's just like for the last 3.5 years almost, it's been just me and my kids. That because we're 24/7. It's rare that we're not 24/7 together, and so put us in a confined space together all the time with no buffer. And I realized, nope, everything that they just said about anger is me. It's me. Especially when it comes to my son, because we are a lot alike. And so we, and he has a lot of traits of his dad too. And so when all that comes together in a circular fashion, my anger issues come out. And so I really had to dig in and deal with that one, and I even got the flyer that the leader had read. I got a copy of it and brought it home, and I'm like, I really need to read this, and I really need to dissect this to see if this is something that I really do struggle with. And so I realized I did. And so just like I did with the codependency one, I want to talk to you guys about some of those highlighted pieces that really kind of spoke to me and made me realize this is what I was dealing with. Because we all, like, that's an emotion. So getting mad, it's an emotion. And we all are intended to have emotions. Like, they're purposeful. They're a purpose in our emotions. It's how the reactions out of those emotions happen where we can sometimes get into hairy situations. And so let me talk about the ones that in that definition of you might have some anger issues honed in and slapped me upside the head, and then I'll talk about kind of how that played out. And we're gonna listen to these. You're gonna be like, well, that's just normal. That's like isn't that how you should react? No, not necessarily. Let's just dive in. So the first one was I feel like I have to raise my voice to get my point across. Now, as mamas and daddies, a lot of times our teenagers or our young precious ones, it can be like, hey, pick up your shoes. I need you to pick up your shoes. Hey, I need you to pick up your shoes. I need you to pick up your shoes. Like that. Sometimes we feel like that's what we have to get to the point, and they're like, oh my goodness, why are you yelling at me? Why are you nagging me? Okay, that aside. Okay, that completely aside, because I think that's just the nature of raising kids. And if I have a parent tell me, my child listens to every single thing I ask them to do the first time, and never do I, unless I don't call you a liar, because you can't tell me that always they do. But like, whatever, move on, digress. But when I feel like there's oftentimes, my son will say, when we're just having conversation and I am trying to get you to understand, why are you yelling at me? Like, you're just like, we haven't had any altercations. Why are you yelling at me? I'm not yelling at you. I'm just trying. Okay, so I try to do a little bit better in that now. Ooh, this one's a little rude. When I get displeased, I shut down. That's bad. That one really kind of stepped on my toes, my heart, my head, you name it. That when something doesn't go the way I feel like it should go, and not just, oh, I'm bummed because we didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I'm talking about when something really goes sideways, I just shut down. A lot of times I've heard that excuse, not for me clearly, and you guys know it. A lot of times I've heard that excuse of, well, I shut down just because I'm an introvert. Okay, no. Like, a lot of times when things don't go our way and we just shut down, it's because deep, below that surface, we've actually got some anger issues we need to deal with, okay? We're just doing the best we can to keep it from exploding, okay? So rather than shutting down when I get displeased, I need to work through that, which we'll talk about that in flipping the script here in a minute. I don't easily forget wrongs. Woohoo! So, see anybody that's known the old Billy of how much I like to hold grudges? And I used to not let you forget that I'm holding that grudge. I've really, really worked through that these last couple of years. I tried to work on, even before CR, that's something that I really tried to work on, but when it was brought up in this, I was like, yeah, this all just kind of lumps into that anger management, or anger issues. Okay. I don't see anything wrong with this one, but it actually is kind of wrong, because it tells me I'm not actively listening to the person that I'm having a conversation with, but thinking of a comeback while the other person is speaking. It's because I have to get my point across. I don't care what you're saying. You're going to hear what I have to say. Okay, I have a couple of people that I've crossed paths with in my life who you can't get a word in edgewise. It's not going to happen, because they really don't care what you have to say. They just want to hear themselves speak. They want to talk. They want to think ahead. I can have a good argument about something, but I don't care. I'm going to fight you because I don't even hear what you're saying, because in my head, I'm coming back at you. There's a root. Remember those little roots I was talking about that come out of those weeds? There's a root down in there. There's a root down in there of anger that has got to be dealt with. I get annoyed by others who don't have the same standard as me. I'm just going to pause on that one a minute. I didn't realize that I was doing that kind of in my own way, but like back when I was talking about codependency and control, and I had to really get honest with myself, this is one of the things I really had to get honest with myself with. I don't think I ever like put you in a bucket, but if you weren't kind of hanging out in exactly where I was, I just really didn't have time for you, or I got annoyed at it. And I have some friends in my life that are that way now, that if you're not where I am spiritually, if you're not where I am in life, if you're not where I am financially, like, you don't deserve to be in that. The root of that is anger. I never had thought about that before, but it's true. The root of that is anger, and that's crazy. I don't want to talk about this one. I really don't talk about this one, so we're not gonna. Okay, I lied. We're gonna talk about it. This one hits me so hard. I use sarcasm and humor to make my point. Like, y'all, sarcasm is my love language. I love being sarcastic. I love laughter. I love poking fun at myself. I love poking fun at my kids. Like, I love it. I love sarcasm and humor. But I've had to learn it needs to be properly placed. Like, if there's not any tension, if there's not any disagreement, this is specifically talking about using it as a dagger, okay? And looking back, I have definitely used it as a dagger. I can think of certain people in my sphere of life who have thrown those daggers at me, and it opens my eyes to be able to see. Sarcasm and humor, I can use it when it's rightly placed. I cannot use it when it is intended to be a dagger, because that's an underlying issue of anger. Deal with your anger issues before you throw a dagger at someone and mask it as sarcasm and humor. And then overreacting to minor issues. I mean, like, when you can step away and look at it later and go, what in the world did I get so upset about that for? Like, there was no sense in that. So those were just some of them that I was like, okay, how did I flip the script on that? Like, how do I work to flip the script on that? What did I do? So I think, and I talked about it a little bit ago, or maybe even the last episode, I can't remember. It all runs together. So one of the things was, once I was alone, you know, my husband and I had split up and we were divorcing, Blaine was gone. I couldn't just point to him and be like, well, he's always angry, he's always raging. Like, I couldn't point to him anymore and be like, he's why everybody in this house is so angry. Like, I couldn't do it. It's on me. I gotta deal with me, right? I also was able to start taking a step back and watch anger play out in other, like, because I was working on it myself, I'm able to recognize it in, like, when other mothers react angrily to their children as opposed to just discussing with their children. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's been me. That was me yesterday. Like, it helps I'm allowing those instances to kind of help reshape my own life. Journaling my triggers. You know, I've talked about journaling 1,000 times, but really journaling helps highlight what I think my triggers are for these types of situations. But the biggest thing that I've learned to do is, when I feel that feeling even start, like, I think it almost scared my kids even more when I first started it, was I literally just walk out the door. I may slam it, but I'll walk out the door. I take a pause. I've had to learn how to take a pause when I feel that bubble start, and just walk away. I'll walk around the block, I'll whatever, and then come back and say, let me ask you a question. You know, let's talk about this. That has been the biggest catalyst for learning how to struggle well with my anger issues. Let's remember that I didn't even know they were there. Okay, let's remember that. So that's been the biggest catalyst for that. Again, like I talked about last week, because I can fake it all day long, but when I really want to get in and start doing this work, these things come to the surface, and I can either choose to deal with them or just pat them back down in that soil and pretend I never even saw that they were there. I'm done with pretending. I think you guys have seen that. We're now on 23 episodes in. I'm done with pretending. It's over. I'm like, there's no sense in it. It's stupid to just keep trying to pretend what's really going on, right? I have really done the work, and to learn. I had to write this down because I love, like, as I was writing this episode out, these words really hit home for me as to this is what's really going on. I had to get comfortable expressing fear, hurt, rejection, and insecurity. Because I really think all of those 4 components were being masked with anger for me. Fear, hurt, rejection, and insecurity. That was what was at the root. Now, it took me a long time to get there. So one of the things that we do, or we can do in part of CR, is something called a step study. That takes the things that we're doing in, like, large group and small group, and we get in and start to line out all the things that have impacted us negatively and positively, all the situations or people throughout our life that have done that. What was their part in this situation versus what did I contribute to the situation? That is tough. It is so easy to sit in these situations and be like, oh yeah, well he, oh yeah, well she, oh well this is why I hate, this is why I hurt, this is why this. But then when I go, okay, but how did I contribute to this? Like, what was my part in that? There's nothing fun about that. But doing that work really helped me to uncover it is just fear, hurt, rejection, and insecurity that I'm masking with anger. Once I realized my part in some of these things. And then there's a step of, now I got to go sit down with these people and make amends for saying, I need your forgiveness for my part in this, and I'm admitting them to you, and I'm telling you I have to forgive you for these things that I've been harboring against you. It's the most freeing thing in the world, but heavens to Betsy, it's the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. But I'm free. I'm free. Anyway, so I want to encourage any of you, if you know you deal with anger, if you didn't know you deal with anger and some of these things hit home, or look up what are the signs that I may be struggling with anger issues. Doesn't have to be through CR. There's lots of info out there on if you are a person who struggles with anger. But here's the deal. I realized this anger one, because next week is another one that was uncovered as I was working through my time at CR. I came to the realization that I'm worth it. I'm worth it. I'm worth the work. It sucks. It's hard. It's difficult. It's comfortable to just hang out here with these weeds all covered and everything, but it begins to choke out the beautiful things that are in my life. And so I am worth that work. You are worth that work. Your kids, your spouse, your significant other, your parents, your whatever. All of that is worth the work that you're going to put into yourself. And I came to that realization. And it's hard and it's tough and it's been difficult, and I'm still working. Like I'm in a second round of step study, almost done. Thank you, Jesus. I'm in my second round of step study, because these step studies are 9 to 10 months long, and it's not an easy thing, because you got to do the work. Like, I could just flip through a page and answer some questions, but I've got to do the work. So I'm just here to tell you, I was worth it. I am worth it. They are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth, like, we have one shot at life, guys. One shot. I am 42, I'll be 43 in June. Okay? I wished I had done a lot of this work back then and been free of this junk when I was in my 20s, early 30s. I am hoping to raise 2 children who know how to work out the junk now, so that they don't have to be 40 years old figuring out, I no longer want to live like this. Deal? Deal. If you want to talk about any of this, TuesdayTalksWithRed@gmail.com. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week, where we will dive into another revelation of issues that came to light, which you're going to be like, Billy, how did that just come to light? I mean, you've talked about this before already, but it's something that's called love and relationship issues. And like I said, you've talked about your romantic life before you got married and all of that, but this is a little bit different. So come back next week. We will talk about love and relationship issues, and how we can work through some of those and what it's done for my life. So have a great week, and I will see you on Tuesday.